Welcome to the 2015 Halloween event. In this video, which is the first of 3 parts, I'll cover making the Happy Bat Tavern, Griselda's House of Beauty, the Retching Toad Eatery, Ghoul & Sons Chemist, and the Thrifty Witch. The bases for all the pieces in the village are made from these chipboard shapes. I designed 4 different shapes, and if you flip them, you get a little bit of a different view, as you can see here. And so there's 4 unique ones, and they come in a set of 4. And there's a couple of different ways you could approach using these. One is you could create a book and simply stack them together, and then punch holes on the side. Then of course because you can flip these, if you want to, you could make your book larger, because you could have them one way and then through the book, and then flip them and do them the other way through the book. So at the top you would get all these different roof lines. Another way that you could use these is to put them together, accordion fold them, and hinge them together. So you could hinge each of these together, and then they would stand up. So you could have this village of houses all hinged together. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do them as standalone houses or businesses in the village, and for a couple of reasons. One is I like the idea of doing it that way, because if you're limited in time and you don't have enough time to do this big project of a book or a big old accordion folded set of village of houses or village businesses, you can just work on one and complete it. So you could do 1 or 2 or 3 or however many you want to make in your project, and you have a completed project when you finish one of these. And so you're not waiting to do all of this to be able to enjoy some of the pieces. So I'm going to do them as standalone, and I'm going to decorate the fronts and the back and put some dimensional items on here so that they stand up. I like the idea of having just a template where you do the front and the back, because then you're not involved in a lot of construction to create a 3D look. Now, if you're doing a book version, of course, you cannot use a lot of dimensional items. Most of your stuff is going to have to be relatively flat, not some of the big bulky things that I'm going to be doing to them. So that's something you'll have to keep in mind. But with the stand-up ones, you can go crazy doing all kinds of stuff on the front and all kinds of stuff on the back, and that's basically what I did. And I think that also gives you, by me doing that, I give you the most ideas to apply to your own projects. Now, to add to this, I've also got a set of windows. Let me just put this out here, a couple of these out here. And this is to continue to add more architectural detail, and you can add these to the houses. You can use them to make higher roofs, just add all kinds of different interests to the houses themselves. And they come in the set of 4, and of course, if you need more, you just get more than one set. So that's another thing that I'll be incorporating into using all of this. Now, in terms of covering the outside and the inside, both the facade and then the interior, what would be the front and the back, I've created some digital image sets, and there's 2 of them. One has the facades, brick and stone and wood, and then it also has the insides, old wallpaper, cracking walls. Although some of them could be used either way. You see lots of houses where there's brick inside, or there's stone inside, or wood inside on the wall. So a lot of these are interchangeable, and they're all sized to fit the sizes of these houses, so that you can use any of these with any of the houses, and they should work. And there's also some paneling. So if you want like this, a little bit of Tudor style paneling, I've got some little panel pieces too. And in addition to that, there's also roofs. So there's several different types of roofs, and again, they are sized for this project. And then of course some chimneys as well. Now, they're only in a digital kit, and the reason being I didn't put them in a collage sheet because the collage sheet wouldn't have had hardly anything on it, and I just didn't think it was worth it. So they are all in a digital set, but you do get, there's two different sets. There's one for this and then one for that. Now, if you can't work with a digital set, but you still want to be able to do this project, I have some other options for you. The first option is this paper, which could function as either wall or floor with all the wood pattern. And of course, all you would need to do is cut that up and put it on your structure. Then another option is this stuff here. And they're basically stencils. They're made out of chipboard, and you could just you cut them up and apply them. You know, paint your surface first, and then paint this and put it on top. You could do that. That's one option. But I thought to make it go further, I would seal these things with an acrylic sealer, and that way I could use them over and over several times. And they're very large, so the nice thing is that they easily fit these buildings, you can see. And you know, they would make nice sidewalks or floors or however you want to use them. But that's another option for creating your facades, your inside and your outside. And then a third option is this, which I'm not actually going to use this in this. This is a rubber stamp. I'm not going to use this in this project because I'm using it in the next one that follows this, a 3D haunted house. But this is another option that you can simply stamp this out, cut it up, and use it to cover your buildings or your houses. So those are the three options that you have if you can't work with the digital images or you don't want to go that way. Then I want to show you another thing. I also used some paper in the project, and these were the two paper sets that I used. I've got the Graphics 45, which is a much brighter, much brighter images, Halloween themed, but much brighter if you like a brighter color scheme. And then there's the Tim Holtz that just came out, and so that's a much darker, more gothic looking. So I used both of these depending on where I thought it fit the best. In addition to the digital sets that I created for the facades and exteriors, or facades and interiors, the chimneys, the roofs, I also have a whole new set of collage sheets. Now, I've got one sheet that is specific to each of the different pieces in the village. So, for example, Thrifty Witch, and there's the Ghoul and Son. So each one, and there's also a complimentary digital kit to go with it. And for most of them, the digital kit has a few more images than the collage sheets do. So if you can work with digital images, that's a good thing. And then I also have a set of windows and doors, and all these have been designed with the scale of the houses, and with the windows, the chipboard windows. Those have all been designed with that in mind. And there is a digital kit that includes all of this. So you can there's either the individual collage sheets, or you can get a single digital kit, and it'll have everything that you see here in these collage sheets. And then there's also a spooky windows, which is this one here. Now, right now there isn't a digital set, but there will be in part 2. Part 2 will have more windows, and so there will be a digital kit that will contain all of these windows and the ones that are coming in future. But right now, all there is this collage sheet, and you'll see that I use some of these windows. And then there's 2 more sheets. These are just kind of fun sheets, and these are just collage sheets. They're not digital kits. One is Strange People, and you'll see me use these people throughout the project, and then it's just spooky pumpkins, something to embellish with. Now you're going to see me, other than the specific to that building or that piece collage sheet, you're going to see me use this throughout a lot of these general pieces, like the doors, the windows, some of this fun stuff. You'll see me use this through all 3 parts of the Halloween Village event. So the first business that I'm going to show you is going to be the Happy Bat Tavern. And this is the chipboard shape that I'm going to use for that, and the collage sheet. So I'll be using a lot of the images on the collage sheet, plus other dimensional items to create the tavern. And here I've already started, and to decorate this, actually I'll keep this up here so you can see what it looked like blank versus now. I've started adding brickwork and paneling and the roof, this part of the roof, to the chipboard. So I covered, you can see this area is covered. This area below the roof line is covered with the wood, and then, or with the brick, and then the paneling down here. And then I've done the roof part here, and then more of the brickwork up here. And then you can see I have 2 windows from the Spooky Windows collage sheet, and inside is a tavern, images of a tavern inside here. And then the next thing I was going to do was to add some dimensional architecture to it to make it look like it stands out even more. And I'm going to do that down here with the door. And instead of just putting the door there, I'm going to add a piece of brickwork that's going to be bowed out like this. You can see that gives it a whole lot of dimension. And I'm going to be doing the same thing with the roof. And the way to do that is I cut a piece of paper, well, with the stuff on it, with the brickwork on it, and I cut it 4 1/8 inches high and 3 1/2 inches wide. Now those measurements had to do with where the line was here, the roof line on the piece, and also how high that was here, and then doing it a little wider so that when I put it on here, it bows out. And you need enough to create tabs, and you need enough for it to bow. So that's where I derived those measurements. And then to do the cutout, I simply put the door, which you can see is covered with chipboard on one side, thin chipboard on one side, and then the image of the door from the old doors collage sheet. And I do that to the windows too, so everything has some support and it looks thicker, and you can pop it out. So I just laid this on here and drew a line around it. And then I came in and cut it just shy of that, because I want, when I get this put together, I don't want you to see absolutely everything of the door, just a lot of the door. And then you can notice I've scored, probably 1/4 of an inch along each edge, and that becomes my tab. And then to attach it, I'm first going to glue along that tab line and put it down here and glue it on. And then I'm going to come in and glue in the door. So first glue this down and then the door. Another thing that you might want to do is ink all your edges. You might want to ink just inside and right around the white part, so that if you see anything from an angle, you're not picking up the white. So that's the only other thing I do. And like I say, glue this down first, the tabs on each edge, and then glue your door in. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to do something for the roof. And you can see I've cut out a piece of roof, and I believe the measurements are 4 inches wide by 3 1/2 inches long. And again, that had to do with the distance here. I want enough that it's going to cover this and just a little bit more. So that way, if you do this to another, if you decide to do this to a different one and this area is not exactly the same, that's the thing you have to have in consideration. And so then I'm going to turn around here and I'm going to find the center point, which is going to be 2 inches since it's 4 inches wide. And I'm just going to mark that. And then I want to draw a line from that mark to the corner. And I want to do that on both sides. Now those are going to become our fold lines. Now just like with the little alcove thing here, we want tabs. So I'm going to draw another line that represents the tab. And of course you don't have to do this, draw a line, you could just cut it. But just for the purposes of you seeing what I'm doing, I'm going to do that. So we will cut this away like this. And cut this away. Oop, I've got a pin stuck to me. And then we also want to cut a little bit more away, because when we fold this, with this coming to a point, some of the tab is going to be kind of in the way. They will overlap, so we do want to get rid of some of that, and I just suggest you do that on the bottom too, because this is going to extend a little bit further down, so you don't want this free tab hanging out, or exposed, I should say. So I'm going to cut a little bit of this away. And then, of course, I would trim all this out here as well so that you get that ragged edge. And then I'm just going to come in here and score this. It's a pretty simple thing to do to make this, as you can see. We're going to fold this, and then it's the same process. You'll do this after you do your alcove if you're going to do the alcove. Then you're going to come in here, and of course now you see we've got this little pop-out roof. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to glue, you're going to use your tabs, and you're going to glue that down like this. So you'll have this in place, and I'll put this together, of course, and show you what it looks like. With this under here, and then your door right here. So that gives you a lot of nice dimension. Now, there'll be some other things that I'll do to add, junk up the front of this, of course. But I want to go ahead and flip to the back and show you that I have that covered as well. And I've used paper from the digital kit on the back. And then I also, you can see some paneling here. And what I have is, this is a free sheet for you that'll be on my blog. It contains 8 different patterns or colors of wood strips in 2 sizes. And all I did for this one is I printed, of course, lots of this. And I did the big ones here and the short ones here. And then you'll notice that it has this distressed look to it. If you take a piece of sandpaper and just barely rub it, and just take off a little bit of the paint, the layers of the paint, you will get this distressed kind of look. And it actually happened accidentally because I messed up part of the thing after I put it down, the wood strips after I put it down. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to print something else. So then I ended up, I'm like, whoa, I kind of like that. And so I just took sandpaper and started doing that. So sometimes there's just serendipity and mistakes. So that's what the back looks like, and that's how I'll start. And of course, I'm gonna build everything around it. Now, one of the main features of the inside of the tavern, of course, is the bar. And if you are doing, I should mention this now, if you're doing the book version of this, then you're going to have to judge on what you can put on your house. You may not be able to do a bunch of dimensional stuff on the front because your book won't lay flat. You can use a little bit of stuff, but not anything as bulky as that, unless it's the front page of your book. If it's the front page of your book, no problem. It's the same ways on the back. You may not be able to do as many dimensional things, but as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to do these as freestanding because I can show you the most options and add the most stuff, and I kind of like it as being a freestanding. So now with the bar, what I did was I printed one of the actually I printed it twice, the bar front, and I backed it with chipboard, and then I printed the bar front again and printed it with covered it with chipboard, but I didn't make it as wide. So I cut off some of the trim and then added it back, so it's not as wide as this. And then I have some blocks of wood in my stash, and that's what I'm using for support. So you can see you're not going to see this part, but I added the blocks of wood to the back side because I'll use these to attach this to the wall. So you can see there's nothing here. It's not attached here. And then there also just happened to be the height of the bar. So you can use whatever you have in your stash to attach the bar. And of course, I've got this glued here as well. So this will end up getting attached to this here. You can see. And then some other things that I'm doing, I've got some barrels. These were just raw wood. And I stained them with vintage photo stain, and then I wrapped them with some tape I had in my stash. It's a little copper tape. I wrapped that around there to look like it's the metal. Now above the bar, I needed a shelf for stuff, and I ended up making the shelf out of 2 narrow matchbox boxes. And you saw me use these and make a chest out of these with the last video, the boutique video. And I simply glued them together and I wrapped them in paper. And this is from the Tim Holtz paper, which you'll see me, his new Halloween collection, which you'll see me use this paper throughout the project. And then again, I took another one of the strips of the wood from the sheet, this collage sheet, and wrapped it around the edge so that it looks like it has wood trim. And that becomes my shelf. So those are just some of the things I'm doing on the inside. And I'm going to start putting all this together. Of course, I'm going to add lots of the images that are here that you see. And I will back most of these with either a very thin chipboard or with some cardstock, just to give them a little bit more support and make them pop. So I'm going to put a lot of this together and then come back and talk about it. Now I'm going to use a lot of zombies as the workers in all the businesses. And these are just zombie finger puppets. They're rubber. So what I did to make them work is I took the legs off of a plastic skeleton, and of course I'll use the rest of the plastic skeleton for other things, and I glued them inside the body of the zombie, and that gave the zombie some legs. And then you saw I had the apron on the front, so by gluing, that's the reason I created the aprons, were to put on the zombies so that you would not see the transition between the lights just went out the transition between the zombie body and the legs of the skeleton. So I have the Happy Bat Tavern finished, and I just want to go over with you the parts. You can see that I have taken the posters for the beer and the 3 different beers, and popped them up and put them across the top of the roof with 2 bats. And then I've put an owl bead on the top. Now this bead, because it's a bead, it has a hole all the way through. And I just took a little file, a round file, and went into the bead and just made the hole bigger so that it would have more area to glue it on to the top piece of the roof here. Then if you go further down, you see pumpkin from the Scary Pumpkin sheet, and then the beer barrels, and then another set of barrels. This barrel set is only in the digital kit. And then you see the proprietor of the establishment of the Happy Bat Tavern, and I've got one of the signs here serving fresh blood beer served here. And then I've got more of the barrels on the side here. And then a couple other things are the tree. Now this tree, it is a chipboard tree, and then one of the lower branches really curled in, and I put that underneath this, and that kind of helps keep this in place and gave me a place to glue it. And then I could also glue the base of it to the barrel, so you can see the barrels serve a function other than just, you know, moving some of the things to the sides of the structure so that it makes it larger and more interesting. But I also think about, okay, when I want to do something like a tree, I need something out here to be able to have a surface to glue this to. And then you'll also see these little fuzzy things that are on the tree. Oh, and the tree does come with 3 crows, which are ravens. I'm going to use that with another house. But then you see these little fuzzy things I want to point out, and I'm going to show you what those are. And then you can also see the Happy Bat Tavern is hung here with a little sign thing, and I want to show you where that comes from. So let me move this aside and show you those 2 things. Oop, Mother Nature is kicking in with a little lightning and thunder while I'm doing this. That's pretty cool. This is the stuff that I used, comes in these little packages, and you can see it comes with a lot of colors. And it's kind of stuck together. It's used for making miniatures. And I pulled a lot of it apart before I started gluing it onto the tree. Let me get some more here. It's like you can see this one's all stuck together. Just a little bit, because I didn't want it quite this thick. So I pulled some of these apart, and just using glossy accents on the places on the tree I wanted to add the this little fuzzy stuff. Then I just put this on the glossy accent and just pressed it down. So you can see you can do a lot of different things, not just on trees, but if you want foliage around the base of your house or whatever, you can use these or a mix of these to do that. Then the other thing is that you noticed here that I used this piece to hang the sign. Now that comes from a package, if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Whoa, I hope you guys can hear this on the camera. Pretty fun. the lightning going on. It comes in a package of all these pieces. And so these are the corner pieces that I use, which are great for hanging the signs. And then it comes with these two other decorative pieces, which you'll see me use all of this. It's really nice because you can cut this all up and use it for signs or decorations, architectural decorations, or this is a fence. So I made use of a lot of what's in this package, and it went a long way. So I'll point that out to you as we get to other houses. So now you can see the back side of the tavern where there's a lot going on. Hang on just a second. You see we've got our bartender here who is a zombie or ghoul, and I'll show you the pieces of that, but it's hard for me to hold this and show you. So I'll show you how I put him together, holding a little beer mug, and he's got his apron on from the collage sheet. And then of course you can see the back side of the tree. So I approached everything from, you know, I'm going to see it on both sides. So some things I flipped and printed twice so that you would see the same thing from both sides. And then you can see I've added some more of the images from the collage sheets here, you know, managed by the House of Dracula, another one of the bats. And then you can see down here all the way across, I've got the barrels that, whether you've got the dispenser things and nozzles or whatever you call them, so that they would get the beer from there. And then you come down here and you've got another one of these, it's one of these clear beer things, beer mugs. And I just use red pepper alcohol ink and just poured it into the mug and got it all red. And then I filled it with glossy accents so it wouldn't look empty. Let that dry, and then a little cotton in the top is the head of the beer. And then you've got back here, you've got one of the images for the candle. And then you can see I've got a little rondelle. So if you take one of these rondelles and cut out your candles, and I backed them with some heavy cardstock, then using some glossy accents, you can just glue that in place on top of the rondelle, and it looks like the base of the candle. Then you can come in here and you can see a couple other glasses. That comes from a set of all kinds of glasses and I think a plate and some other things, and I've used that set throughout the houses. So I used a couple of glasses there. Then you have a little box with the hand for tips, and then you have a couple, the wine bottle and another candle back here, and a flask, or not a flask, but some kind of a bottle with stuff in it. And any of these items like this that you see, where you see the papers just standing there, freestanding there, I've put a bead on the back of it. So you just find some cheap beads, or maybe you already have some in your staff, little bitty cheap beads that have a flat surface somewhere on the bead, and glue that behind, and then you can glue these little pieces to a surface, and it looks, you know, it gives them the dimension. It looks like they're standing up. And then you want to come down here. I got two fellows at the bar, hanging out at the bar. That is from the Skeleton Characters collage sheet. I've got a lot of different characters like this, and then there's a couple of other collage sheets that Alpha Stamps has had for a while that I've used as characters throughout the village. And then of course you saw how I did the, I talked before about the barrels that I stained and then used the tape around it, the copper tape, and those are just glued right to the bar. I showed you earlier the bar. The only difference now is that I have closed in the sides of the bar. I just cut a piece of chipboard that would fit in that space, put some more of the bar image over that, and close that up. And you could use decorative paper, whatever you want. You know, you don't have to, if you can't print this multiple times, you don't have to worry about that. And then on the side here, of course, this guy, he's got a bead behind him, and actually you might be able to see if I go this way. So you can see how I got him to sit on the bar stool, or on the, what is it? Oh. Hope you guys are enjoying this. And then I've got the whole set of barrels here. And then I printed the Happy Bat sign twice. You don't have to flip it. It will come out the same. It's proportional all the way around. So you see that. And then we come up to the top shelf here, and I showed you how I used the matchboxes to make that shelf. And then I've got these little beer bottles, which I added the labels from the collage sheet, and I thought they would be cute stacked up. So I used some glossy accents to glue them all together into a stack. I've got another paper bottle here, and then this really pretty beer stein right here. And then, of course, a pumpkin and the wine labels. And we've got a little spooky looking dartboard and another bottle, another set of bottles up here. So you can see now by adding all these dimensional pieces, even though I started with a flat chipboard house shape, it allows me to create something that will stand up all on its own. and you don't have to build. You just decorate the front, decorate the back, and you've got a structure. Okay, here we have Griselda's House of Beauty, which is one of my favorite pieces. Of course, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and this beauty shop is a little bit torturous. Here, this is the chipboard I'm using for this, and of course, here's the collage sheet. And here I have started adding all of the front stuff. And in the background here, I have the wood from the kit, from the digital set. And then from the windows and doors collage sheets, you can see I've added these two window stone panels. So I printed that twice. And then they are on chipboard and popped up with double stick foam tape. And then the door, same way, it's popped up. Well, actually, I don't think I popped this one up. I think I wanted these to be forward from the door. So I think this is on chipboard, but it's glued down. And then, of course, I've got 3 windows. I've popped those up quite a bit. And here's the roof. And to do the roof, I covered underneath here, which would be this part here. I covered this with the roof because I'm going to pop this up. And you could see a little bit of it. You would need to cover the whole thing, or you could just use some decorative paper, whatever you want to do. But I did add a little bit of the roofing image to the back here. And then to pop this up to give it this slant look, I glued the back end right to the chipboard house. And then I put the double stick foam tape right in the front here. And I don't think you can see it. Maybe you can in the camera. So it's just in the front, and it's pretty thick. In fact, it was just some leftover stuff, you know, one of those pop dot things, very thick ones, and it's the leftover after you pop the dots. That's inside there, and so that makes the front go up, but you've got the back glued down. So that gives you that angle. If you wanted a bigger angle, of course, you just need to add more layers. Or you could stick foam core or anything in there, but just however much you want that to come out. So that kind of gives it an overhang. Then you've got a chimney on this one, so I used the chimney from the digital set, and I put it on both sides. And I think, you know, as I was going through designing all this and thinking about it, I realized you were going to see some things from the back, from the front of the house when you look at the back. And so I just treated it as if it was the front of the house. You could put something else there if you wanted to, but I just put it on both sides. And then you can see I've used some of the paper from the kit. And also, again, the trim from the free collage sheet. And so that's how I did the basic papering on the back. And then, of course, from this, I'll be adding stuff to the back and also to the front. So I want to show you what I did for the salon, the House of Beauty, to make it stand up, and also to give you an idea if you do want to make some kind of a floor or base for your piece. And I've cut a piece of chipboard here and covered it with some of the wood paper. And the dimensions that I cut were, first I just cut a 10-inch piece. And so it was 10 inches long and 2 7/16 this way, 2 7/16 inches. And then I came in 6 5/8 inches and then cut from point to point. Now those measurements have to do with the size of the building. This is just a mock-up I did as a proof of concept. That's not the one you saw earlier that I'm working on. And what I did was I wanted this to be the width of the house. And then I just kind of picked this inch based on where I wanted the fence to be. And this is part of this big strip of fencing that or whatever decorative stuff that I've cut off a section of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the edge here and glue this in place, and that's going to give me, between the floor and this, that's going to give me the support to keep the house up. So this depth and this angle represent where this fence is going. So I wanted the fence, if the fence was out here like this, it really wouldn't be that supportive. So it needed to come back at an angle. And then I looked at where this little fence post would be, because that's where I would want to attach it to the house, and then figured out how long this should be for the end of this to end up here. So that's where my measurement came in. So a 10-inch piece, then the depth is 2 7/16, And then this front area here, I measured over to 6 5/8 and then just cut the angle from point to point. And so if you want to do the same thing that I have done, that would be the measurement. And then of course I will glue all this in place. The electric chair, I wanted to make it look more like it was electrified. And so I took some, I think it's called fun wire. It's just a very easily bendable wire that's plastic coated, and there's no rhyme or reason to the wire other than just it happened to be what I had. You can use whatever you've got. And then I wrapped it with some thin gold wire and some copper wire, and that's just to make the wires pop a little bit more. So you can see the end result is I have a couple of wires here, and then I used this little I think it's like a foot called a little brass foot, or I guess you could use it as a bead cap. But I chose it so that I could glue the ends of the wire in there. So I just loaded that up with E6000 and put that in there. And then this is going to be popped up. So I'm going to attach this to the top, or right here to the edge, and it'll look like that it's connected to the little head thing. And then I'm going to twist the wire and glue it behind the chair. And that way it's going to look like the chair is electrified. So here's the finished Griselda's House of Beauty, or House of Pain. And let's start over here. And you can see I have the fence glued in place with the Zombie Cosmetic sign and then the main business sign glued to the scroll work, and then that's tucked in between where this is popped out is in there, so that gives me a place to do that. And then I've got the scroll work up here and that little crow at the top. I just use a little red paint for the eye. And then I put the no appointment necessary payment before services, just in case. I guess that's in case you don't survive the services. Then we've got some pumpkins popped out. And then this little cat, I like this cat because the ears are pink, and the whole style of this, I wanted it to be kind of girly, ghoulish sort of thing. So that's why I've kind of used the colors I have. And then over here you see we've got the sign, the full service salon with the hat, and then a little cameo, a skull with the little hairdo, which I thought kind of worked since this is a hair shop or salon. So that's the front. So now let's turn it over and look at the back. Back, of course, we've got all kinds of things going on. At the bottom you can see the floor, and you can see how that's connected to the fence, and I've put the Zombie Cosmetic sign on the other side too, so it looks the same. You know, when I do these double sides, you don't have to do that. You could put decorative paper, you could put something else there if you don't have the ability to print the image more than once. And I did the same with the main sign up here. And then you've got, I've popped up the chair with all the nails or pokey things, and then the old crone beauty cream sign. Here's our zombie lady, and she's got her little apron on, and she's holding the hand mirror with a customer, showing her what her look is. And then she's got a little piece of brain, I think, in her hand, and I guess it's maybe a brain scrub or something. And of course I did the same thing with the legs that I've been doing with the zombies. And then you can see the electric chair there with the wire going on. And then we've, you know, just got some samples of hairdos. We've got the this shelf here, which comes that color. And then I've got all the bottles up there. I've got some cutouts from the collage sheet in the back. And then my favorite wig, which is the snake wig, is up on a hat stand. And if we come further up, you can see we've got the matchboxes. And then as other types of stands for the wigs, I've used a little skull bead here, you can see, for each of these. And then if we come over here, then what I've used is the top of a round paper mache box, and I'll use the bottom for something else. And you can see I've got all kinds of beads and things on that, and the sign. I doubled the sign again, the front sign again, but then I put this on top of it about the press. And then you can see I've got a combination of real bottles and paper bottles from the collage sheet that are popped up or standing with the beads. And then a couple of little accessories down here. They come in a set of dollhouse dresser accessories, and I just used the comb and the brush for this one, but I'll use the rest of them in another piece. So that is Griselda's House of Beauty.